Before he heads off into the sunset with his fat government pension, Dr. Anthony Fauci making the rounds again in his Don't Blame Me tour. The nation's top doc, who repeatedly lied to the American people at the onset of the pandemic, is now worried about his legacy.
I think the misconception is that I was misleading people. You know, to say that I, who have been advisor to 7 presidents and have never, ever veered one way or the other from an ideological standpoint, for somebody to say that, you know, I'm
political.
Yeah, political. I mean, that's completely crazy.
Would you take back what you said about masks? Obviously, the guidance changed, but you were very definitive. You said there's absolutely no reason for people to be wearing masks.
Yeah, I mean, sure, if I had to do it over again, of course, I would have analyzed it a little bit better.
Did you catch there was a CD player in the back of that room? Come on, man. Greg, want to comment on the CD player or on Fauci's interview?
You're done?
You have more.
Oh.
But you want me to comment?
No, I want to talk about the CD player.
I don't want to talk about it. I don't have any thoughts on it, but I will. Can I comment on Fauci?
Whatever you want.
All right. So he saw the retreat. He saw the retreat in the coronaviruses, and he decided to become like Jeff Goldblum in The Fly, and he decided to become the virus himself. Oh. So he's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. COVID. So he's everywhere, omnipresent, and it's up to us, the media, right, to social distance. Right? We have to stop giving Fauci the sound bites because we need to do a 1-month shutdown against the Fauci virus because it's clear that we're spreading it. But there is good news for Fauci. I just read that Boston University researchers have developed a deadlier COVID strain in a lab by adding a spike protein from the Omicron variant to the original Wuhan strain. 80% more deadly. It's just what we needed because we need to kill more people.
Yeah. So we're bringing the gain-of-function research to Boston.
Exactly. I'm
well
so
done,
excited.
Fauci. I'm going to play some sound for you. He continued, Dana, to talk about school closures. He got a little defensive. Listen.
Did we pay too high a price?
Yeah, I would say that what we should realize and have realized that there will be deleterious collateral consequences. They always come back and say Fauci was responsible for closing schools. I had nothing to do.
What annoyed me most about that comment is not Fauci, because we know he lies.
CD player?
Yeah. Carl, who's supposed to bone up on his homework, didn't come back with example after example of him saying, you got to keep the schools, the schools, the schools. How did he not know to do that?
Well, it's interesting because I read in the FoxNews.com piece today, so you can see that there were times throughout the last 2 years, it's been a long time, 2 years, where Fauci would say, we've got to get the schools open, but then they never took action to do that. And we know that the teachers union was emailing with the CDC and saying, we don't want the schools to get open. And remember, that's when the CDC director, Rochelle Walensky, said, I think schools should be open. And the White House press secretary said, she's just speaking in her personal capacity. She doesn't really speak for them. So Fauci at the time, he could have, at any time, if Fauci said, open the schools tomorrow, because he was so revered, I think people would have said, oh, okay, let's do that. But instead, not only just the mask thing that Jonathan Karl brought up, what about the fact that the 6 feet social distancing was just pulled out of thin air? It wasn't based on science. Yeah. So now that's one of the reasons you had all the kids not be able to be at school together. Plus, the other thing is, he really pushed to get the American Rescue Plan done in order to, like, don't open the schools until this gets passed.
Right.
But how much of that money has been spent? 96%. Also in the category of no one listens to me anymore, I've been saying for 18 months he should stop doing interviews. And there's a law of diminishing returns on his interviews and on my advice.
Why are we still interviewing Fauci if the pandemic is over?
Well, I think that people are looking for Fauci to show a little humility. I think what they'd like him to say is, look, we didn't have everything right. I didn't get everything right, but he can't be humble. You know, instead he says, I, who have been advisor to 7 presidents. You know, I mean, there's such arrogance. It's almost like he's talking about himself in the third person, but he says, I'm not political at all. And this whole thing that Dana was talking about with the teachers and Rachel Walensky, Fauci? Well, what was Fauci doing? Sitting on the sidelines, sitting in the back of the room? I mean, he could very well have said, no, wait a minute, this is how it should be done. He's acting like he had no role in it. And, you know, look at what Senator Rand Paul is saying. You know, like, how is it that your net worth has doubled during the pandemic? And what about you don't need a mask? That was political, so that they could have more masks for other people, for the doctors. And, you know, our kids suffered so much that it's going to take until 2026 for them to catch up. And finally, I mean, he had no problem criticizing Republicans, no problem criticizing Trump. But, you know, he's not a political guy.
Yeah, of course not. The judge makes an excellent point. All you want from the doctor is to say, listen, I was trying to save lives. I was giving my best recommendation as a scientist, as a doctor. I did the best we could. Isn't that what the people deserve to hear? Not all this defensiveness?
Well, there are bits and pieces of that in there, but it should be one cohesive statement. And he does have a long career to point back to say, I'm not a political figure. That's very easy to do. He sat next to Republicans and Democrats and made big healthcare decisions with them and was right most of the time. I don't know why that was an interview that he wanted to do. It feels just personal at this point. I mean, COVID isn't even ranking on the polls now, right? One or two people think it's an important issue. Everyone is thankful that our kids are back in school. Yeah. I can't even count the number of people who've told me that they now live by a no testing policy. And these are people who are liberals, were happy to be shut down, wore masks, continue to wear masks places because they don't want to not be able to go to work for 10 days or whatever it is, or because this is manifesting, thank God, in most of us who've been vaccinated as a light flu, and we're going to have to live with it and probably get vaccinated or boosted once a year. So it doesn't help anyone. I would love for people to just be honest about it. We'll learn from it. There will be another one of these, unfortunately, whether it's, you know, created in a Boston lab or a foreign lab or
I prefer my diseases to be man-made, right?
All right, I don't mean to belabor the point, but I mean, if you're going to follow the science, you can't have a CD player.
I don't know. CD has excellent sound.
No, it doesn't.
Yes,
Greg.
it does.
You
it
just do it on your phone now.
Nostalgia is fun.
It's medieval,
Wait
basically.
a minute, didn't Fauci say he was the science?
Right.
Yeah. There you have it.
He is the science.
Maybe we should interview him about a CD player.
He's a scratched CD.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.